After her mother dies, 17-year-old Mary Catherine, or MK, moves in with her eccentric scientist father Professor Bomber, who has spent his life searching for tiny humanoid soldiers called Leafmen in Danbury, Connecticut. They protect the forest near where Bomber lives from wicked creatures called Boggans and their malevolent leader Mandrake. Bomber's determination to find proof of his theories irritates his daughter as she believes it's nonsense, like her mother did, but Bomber assures her he'll find proof. Meanwhile, an independent young Leafman named Nod decides to quit. Much to the ire of the no-nonsense leader Ronan, who promised Nod's late father he'd look out for his son. The benevolent fairy queen of the forest, Queen Tara, must choose an heir to her throne and goes out to a field of leaf pods on board her flying barge and escorted by the royal guards, arriving at the field guarded by a laid-back slug named Noob and a wannabe leafman snail named Grub. Immediately after she chooses a pod, the Boggans attack. Tara flees the area with the pod, and though flying leafman bodyguards do their best to protect her, they are soon overwhelmed by the sheer number of Boggans. Unable to reach the barge and the safety of the guards, while being chased, Ronan arrives for her and the pair fly off on his hummingbird mount. They are then attacked by Mandrake and his son Dagda. Dagda is killed by Ronan, but not until after he shoots Tara. Meanwhile, MK decides to leave after having an argument with Bomber about his research. Before she can leave, Bomber's dog Ozzy runs into the woods. While looking for Ozzy, MK sees Tara falling. Dying, Tara gives her the pod and uses her magic to shrink her. She tells MK to take the pod to Enaim Galu, a glowworm wizard, before she dies, and MK joins Ronan and the Leafman, along with Noob and Grub. Ronan discovers that Nod has entered a race against other creatures and bugs on birds. Nod goes back on her deal with a short-tempered toad gangster named Buffo to throw the race. Before Buffo and his two henchmen can feed Nod to a snake, Ronan intervenes and orders them to leave. A reluctant Nod joins him, MK, Noob, and Grub after hearing about Queen Tara's death, which Buffo overhears. Ronan, Nod, MK, Noob, and Grub eventually track down Enaim Galu. He then leads them down to the library, where MK discovers Tara's brief message before shrinking her, and a message that will get her back to normal size. When Ronan leaves, Nod takes MK on a deer ride and they begin to fall for each other. Meanwhile, Mandrake has had the Boggans bring Buffo to him, finding out the location of the pod. Mandrake goes to Enaim Galu's place to steal the pod, which, if it blooms in darkness, will help Mandrake destroy the forest. He takes the pod and kidnaps Noob and Grub. Ronan scolds Nod for not being there to protect the pod. To get into Boggan territory undiscovered, MK, Nod, and Ronan set out to Bomber's house to get some disguises, where MK learns that the Leafmen have deliberately been leading Bomber off their trail. Bomber sees that he has visitors and captures MK, fainting when he sees her. MK marks the location of Moonhaven on a map Bomber has made of the forest before rejoining Nod and Ronan. When they reach the Boggan land, Ronan distracts the Boggans while MK and Nod rescue Noob, Grub, and the pod. Mandrake discovers them and orders the Boggans to stop them. MK, Nod, Noob, and Grub escape alive, but Ronan sacrifices himself to ensure their escape. Before the full moon can sprout the pod at Moonhaven, Mandrake's bats block the light, causing the pod to begin sprouting in darkness. The Leafmen set out to fight the Boggans. MK tries to get help from her father by visiting his various cameras he had set in the forest. However, upon regaining consciousness, Bomber believes that he didn't really see MK and that he has been insane all these years, and shuts down all his cameras. He changes his mind when he sees the red pushpin that MK had put on his map. Bomber is overjoyed to see that he has been right and he follows MK to Moonhaven. MK uses Bomber's iPod to make bat sounds, luring Mandrake's bats away. Meanwhile, Muban and Naim Galu try to stop Mandrake from reaching the pod, but are unsuccessful. Just then, Ronan appears, bearing scars and bruises from the Bogans. Mandrake manages to outdo him, but is defended by Nod, who finally realizes the importance of teamwork. Before Mandrake can obtain his victory, the pod blooms in moonlight as Mandrake falls into the burl of a nearby tree. The chosen heir is the flower child who helped save Tara earlier in the film. Grub becomes a Leafman, Nod and Ronan reconcile, and Nod and MK kiss before MK is returned to her original size. After reuniting with Bomber and becoming his assistant, the human family still keep regular contact with their small friends as they continue the research of their world.